Teela's character in He-Man is one of the most misunderstood characters of all time. Like, her hate just doesn't make sense, and it's coming from a lot of people who are taking a lot of the dialogue at face value without actually evaluating the scene and trying to, actually think for themselves. But yeah, like, one of the main problems or issues that people bring up is in the first episode she complains about, well, goes off to about the secret never being told, that she didn't know who He-Man was. Now, a lot of people would reference that in the original series that she knew they had secrets, but that doesn't that's not the same as actually knowing the secret. And if we see the transition, we can still see her distress from seeing Adam die. And just before she goes off at the Queen, she doesn't actually go off at the King, remember. The Her father had just been fired, like, and she was demanded to get rid of her father, which is kind of a very distressing moment. Imagine, you're being told to banish your father, and you've just seen someone that you love die right in front of you, and you find out that person was, well, you were closer to that person than you ever knew. It's kind of like she's just getting mad at the fact that she didn't know, and she probably would have she will probably was blaming herself at the moment, because which is actually spoken by Cringer and well, confirmed by Cringer later on in episode 2, that she blames herself for Adam's death, because she could have gone and become He-Man, and she could have taken on the power herself, even if it would have killed her. But you know and the whole lying is just her. Imagine, like, he did lie to him. It's pretty distressing, especially when he risked his life every day, and she could have just not known at all what happened to him. But yeah, and in the next episode, people complain about her not saving magic, but that's more because, like Cringer said, she has self-doubt. She doesn't really believe in magic, which is her whole arc. Like, she doesn't think it's the way to fix things. She thinks that technology can still help it, so she doesn't want to be involved in that sort of stuff. She thinks, oh, I'll just use technology, but obviously, since magic is supposed to be human emotions and whatever you want to see as a metaphor for, she goes and saves it. Yeah, like, a lot of people also get mad at being a strong woman. She's not a damsel in distress, but she does get saved, and even in the last episode, the whole plan wasn't hers. She needs Adam's power in order to get rid of the void thing or get rid of the shadow characters. So I can't see why people hate Teela's character. If you actually just look at her motives, I'm not headcaning, I'm actually just trying to understand it and trying to think for myself. I know I've done this before. I'm not gonna call you guys objectively dumb people, but that's like, for example, there was Skins, which is probably the best teen show of all time. There's a character Effie. I just didn't like her at all. Like, some of the things she did was a bit. Well, I liked her in the first 2 seasons, and then when she had her own story, just like, what? I didn't like. She was doing all these pretty nasty stuff, but then I just watched this one short clip they did, which was like a preview, and it explored her character and why she does it, and now I had the context, and then I just thought about more of her actions. It was just, oh, this makes sense. So I hope people can kind of have that moment. A lot of people also get mad about the switch and bait. It's like, okay, he just didn't. He wanted it to be a surprise, and leak culture is kind of just not a good thing. Like, maybe if someone didn't leak it, then we wouldn't have any of this trouble at all. We just expected a Masters of the Universe show. So, okay, I get it. It's not the same as what you wanted, but just rewatch it then. Just now you know what it is, rewatch it, and then your expectations are different now, and you might actually enjoy the show for what it is. It's not a masterpiece, right? It's still very kiddish. It's not there, but it's got good writing. It's got character depth. It's got everything to it. So who cares? Teela wasn't really the main character. She was the main character, but it wasn't all about her. Every other character had arcs. I really like Oriko, although he was sidelined in part two, but he was pretty cool. Man at War showed up, or he just showed up and just was a badass. He still had an arc though. He had his whole um, being Teela's mother and accepting his fate and stuff like that. I can go more into it, but yeah, even He-Man himself. So it wasn't like Teela the show. It was Masters of the Universe, and this season they focused on Teela, which is what you do. That's generally how you write a show, especially ensemble cast. Like you focus on one particular character, or you give the main focus on one particular character for the whole arc, and that kind of like completes the story. While you have all these side characters, well, not really side characters, characters who aren't in the main, but they still got an arc. So yeah, that's just my thoughts on Taylor's character.